Hi, I'm Yolanda and welcome to Speak On. Online spaces have always been places where people can come together to share their experiences and talk through issues. This often leads to movements with real-world impact. Me Too and Time's Up campaigns started online and the activism has become this undeniable force in the real world. Joining us today, we have Chrissy, who is an actress and singer, Lucy, who's a model, actress and mental health advocate, and we also have Seyi Newell from Rosa. So we're going to be talking about Me Too and Time's Up today, and we brought Seyi in because she works for Rosa, which is the UK fund for women and girls, and she works with Time's Up as well, so she can give us all the goss and all the information. So I'm going to direct my questions at you. No pressure, no pressure. Okay, so can you just kind of give us a little bit of background on #MeToo and #Time's Up, what the campaigns are and how they started?
Yeah, sure. So Me Too was started by Tarana Burke in the States, and this was started quite a few years ago, and it was in response to women who have been sexually harassed, sexually assaulted, in the street, at work, wherever that is, and it's really just a hashtag kind of for support. And so women are able to go on Twitter or Facebook, wherever it is, and they're able to either talk about their experiences with sexual assault and harassment, or they're able to just say Me Too and just kind of stand up and be counted. And then it kind of got a resurgence when the Time's Up movement, well, just before the Time's Up movement started, when all the Harvey Weinstein stories started coming out. So that was the beginnings of Me Too. Time's Up came about as a result of the Harvey Weinstein and everyone, all of those stories came out, and basically it was a group of female actors in the States who basically decided that they had had enough, and really Time's Up is what they were saying. Time's is up on sexual harassment, on impunity, abuse, for everyone, not just women in particular. And they announced that at the Golden Globes. All the women everyone wore black and wore their Time's Up pin. And Emma Watson was in attendance there, and she took Marai Larasai, who is the founder of IMCAN, which is a women's organisation here. She took her as her guest, and then they had a conversation about basically bringing the movement over here. And we're Rosa, with the only UK-wide fund for women and girls, so that's how kind of we got involved in that.
Okay.
That's so interesting.
I didn't know that about Emma Watson at all.
Yeah. So, that's it.
Okay, perfect. So have you noticed these kind of social movements make a real-world change now they've kind of gone from being in the online space to, well, the real world?
Well, it's always weird to me when people say the real world as if online isn't the real world. It is. And a lot of good things come out of online. Just the fact that so many people have the space now to be able to say Me Too. That's a really big thing, because a lot of people weren't able to say that before, and they weren't able to see so many people saying it before. Same with Time's Up. I don't think it being online kind of takes anything away from it. I think it started there. That's where its roots were. It's the same as Black Lives Matter and the Arab Spring. They all came out of social media. But those two things, Me Too and Time's Up, have moved into real life, I guess. Me Too, I guess, has, both Me Too and Time's Up inspired the Justice and Equality Fund, which is Rosa's grants program, where we are funding organisations and people and campaigns who are working in the realms of sexual harassment and sexual abuse. That's one thing. There are a lot of people who have decided to get together and form, groups where people are able to talk about their experiences. You see, Harvey Weinstein is going to be on trial, is on trial. And there are a lot more people who are coming out and talking about their experiences. So that has really galvanised non-famous people, I was going to say normal people, but non-famous people, to be able to talk about their own experiences and go for some kind of prosecution of the people who have done things like that to them. So it's definitely galvanised a lot more movement around finding justice or some kind of fairness for those people.
And have you seen it kind of go from, because obviously it started off very much in the film industry, have you seen that reflect in other industries as well?
Oh, absolutely. I think that was always the plan.
Yeah.
I think it was, so you have these very privileged, high-profile women who have resources and access to lots of things. And the idea was that they kind of stand as a symbol to other women in other industries to be able to say, look, we're doing it and we have all of these eyes on us. You can do it too.
Yeah.
And so it's moved to, we actually started with domestic workers. It's also, and farm workers and, who else? Oh, architecture. It's kind of gone everywhere. Politics.
Yeah.
Specifically here, there's been a lot of male MPs who have been fired or been, flamed on social media for that kind of thing. So, it's kind of moved everywhere.
Okay, cool. And then how can people engage with this movement? How can people engage with Time's Up, Me Too, and with Rosa?
So with Time's Up, Me Too, I guess. So we were having this conversation yesterday about what it means to be an ally, and I think a lot of people think being an ally means just saying, "Oh, I support," and that's it. When being an ally means like actually taking on someone else's struggle as your own, standing up and being counted and saying, actually, this isn't really acceptable. Educating yourself about what those things are. No one likes for someone to come in and say, oh, I know everything, when there have been people who've been working in that space for years. So educating yourself is a major thing. Also, figuring out inside of you how you contribute to oppressive structures. How do you stop yourself from doing that? Because, we're women, but we have a lot of internalized misogyny. There are a lot of things that we say to ourselves in the name of patriarchy that we shouldn't be saying to ourselves. So kind of reassessing that and figuring out how we don't do that to ourselves anymore, and then kind of projecting it outwards and figuring out how you make changes on the outside. To Rosa, donate to the Justice and Equality Fund. Emma Watson donated £1 million to it, which is amazing. But there are over 20,000 women's organisations in this country, and they are completely underfunded. And so we need as much money as we possibly can, to be honest. So making a donation, doesn't matter how small it is, spreading the word, encouraging the women in your lives to speak up and speak out, encouraging the men in your lives to speak up and speak out when they see something. Men are a lot better placed to be able to say, actually, that's not cool, don't do that. Women, a lot of the time, we shrug things off and we say, oh, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of us, that is just how it is.
Yeah, but it's what you're used to.
It's what we're used to.
Yeah.
I was just walking here and some guy had something to say to me and I was just like, oh yeah, and smiled, but really I shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
He should just be able to keep his comments to himself. But if that happens in the presence of a man or someone else, they should be able to say, actually, that's not cool. That's being an ally. That's putting yourself in the space.
I think that's such an interesting point to raise as well. Like, for some reason, well, I know exactly why, so many men aren't feminists and haven't actually been true allies, as you said, that when a man actually does stand up and is standing up for women and is a full-on feminist and is all about equality, we suddenly are like, oh my God, he's the most perfect man. No, he's just a man that actually believes that we're equal to him and that's what all men should do.
Exactly.
But they don't. Exactly. It's like that whole Twitter thing of us like, he's doing the absolute bare minimum and people are like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's that giving out cookies for like the smallest, the smallest
actually,
thing.
that it should just go without saying that women shouldn't be harassed on the streets. You shouldn't be catcalled. You shouldn't be made to feel uncomfortable just because you are a woman. Yeah. And that is all it is. It's nothing to do with how attractive you are, with the clothes you wear, with how sexy you are. Ultimately, it doesn't actually really have anything to do with that. Like, I know there's times when I've looked like absolute garbage and people have still felt the need to shout sexually suggestive things at me. Yeah, and it doesn't make you feel good about yourself. It's not a compliment. It makes you feel unsafe. And it's not a nice thing.
Yeah.
And if a man had actually stood up for me in a situation like that and said, don't scream at her, she's just a woman just walking down the street, like, don't do this, I would have felt a lot safer and it would have made me feel a lot less sort of unsafe or isolated in that situation. So
yeah, no, definitely, because even as women, we know that when we are in situations like that, we have to act a certain way, because otherwise we
you
put
do
our,
the
we can
typical
put,
women
exactly.
thing of going
yeah, because there's a likelihood that you can put yourself in danger. Exactly.
Because as soon as you then actually stand up for yourself and say, don't speak to me like that, suddenly you're the angry feminist bitch. And
but
it's
it's
like,
not even just that.
no.
There are women who have been killed just for saying, no, you can't have my phone number.
Exactly.
Or there are women who have been assaulted just for standing up for themselves. And it puts us in a really difficult situation.
And also, I suppose we're in a time when, not even a time, just generally, I feel like there are a lot of men that are conditioned to be resilient against rejection.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's really scary.
It is.
That no is not enough. Just like, oh, leave me alone. I'm not interested. Yeah, I mean,
the whole idea of women owing a guy something just because, well, I've been nice to you and I took you on a date, so why won't you sleep with me? Or why, you know.
Or even just that I'm sitting here minding my own business, someone talks to me and I'm supposed to owe them back something. No, I still don't. I didn't know you before and I still don't know you.
The amount of times I've had really awkward conversation, I don't want to speak to this person at all, but because he's a man, I feel like I have to speak to them, because if I don't, I'm going to get all of this spiel about how aggressive and angry I am, when actually I just don't want to talk to you, and I don't have to, and I don't owe you anything.
I'm just out here looking to live. I don't want to be pushed or hit in the face or anything. I'm just trying to eat my sandwich.
Exactly. It could be as simple as that. You're sitting in a coffee shop and you just have people talking to you. If someone else came up to you, and if a woman came up to you and started a random conversation with you and you didn't want to chat to them, you would just politely be like, look, I'm really busy with something. But the amount of times I've said that to a guy and they're like, oh.
You're a bitch then.
And then you get bombarded with insults. It's just crazy.
Yeah. And are there, I mean, I suppose, how do we have these conversations with any men in our lives to say, you know, look, I need you for this. You need to, this is what you need to do, not just in the presence of me, in the presence of others.
Really difficult.
Ideas?
I think it's really difficult.
I think when you're having those conversations, it's really about them putting ego aside. And a lot of the time people say, you know, if it was your daughter, if it was your wife, if it was so-and-so. But actually, it shouldn't need to be someone that you know in order for you to just do what's right. Exactly. Whether it's your daughter or whether it's a stranger, you know, who you've never met, you should be able to say, actually, that's not okay. But a lot of the time, the best way is saying, look, I'm your X, Y, and Z, and I go through this on a day-to-day basis, and a lot of the time men aren't fully aware. They're quite blind to this kind of thing. A lot of the time even when you see it on social media and someone says this thing happened to me, and someone says, well, I've never seen that happen before.
Because they're watching everybody all the time.
But does that mean that it didn't happen? Or examples are always great. Also, you know, saying you're not looking to be saved by anyone. That's not what we want. We would just like some support. Some solidarity would be great.
I think it's difficult sometimes to not be met with anger on both parts. Like, I'll get angry about it because it's an incessant thing that's affected all women throughout their life for the most part. So it's difficult for women to not get really angry about it, and also then for men to not retaliate with anger and say, well, you know, I'm the good one, I don't do that. But the point is, you probably have, you're just not aware of it. And it's just about kind of checking in with yourself, I think, for everyone.
And also, even if you're a man who has never done it before, I'm sure you have friends that do it.
Absolutely,
you know?
Always
even if you genuinely
just
are
checking your friends,
great,
and
respectful
saying,
person, just call them out
and say that's not okay. Why would you feel the need to do that? I think men probably need to do a lot more of that, of calling out the men around them who are behaving like that.
I totally agree.
It's because they think, I suppose it's that thing where they think, well, my friend's nice, they wouldn't do anything, so it's harmless to say it. But I suppose that's why so many people can say Me Too, and I suppose that's what's so good about Me Too and about Time's Up, is that we're actually saying, these things that everybody has been conditioned to think are like totally normal, it just isn't. Just like,
exactly.
Time's up on that shit, basically. Just stop it.
Awareness.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think reality TV shows help either. I think a lot of the dating reality shows really play into the gender roles and this whole kind of toxic masculinity thing of the guys compete for the girl, the girl's competing for the guy's attention. I think that's actually a really damaging rhetoric to be on the screen, and people are really addicted to those shows because they are entertaining. But actually, what it's doing is just emphasising those behaviours and making them normal, and I don't think that that's something we should encourage.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because that is also, you know, they're not creating that rhetoric, that's just what people think as well. So it's not like they're not even structuring or not all of it is encouraging that. It's like I was watching a programme and one of the like female contestants was like, well, I'm hard work, I am. And I'm like,
what does that actually mean?
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
You're not hard work for the right person that wants to be with you.
No,
you're just
that
hard
just
work
means
because
that
that person...
you've been told that you were hard work.
because you were with
by a
someone that
guy.
wasn't right with you. And also, by a guy who thought for some reason being nice to you was hard work.
Like when a guy says, oh, my ex was psycho. Probably made her like that, babe, because you probably were a dick.
What did you do?
But also, even if you are hard work...
Yeah.
So, like...
Yeah, exactly. And
what
does it mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
What does
hard
that
work mean?
Hard work in the context of what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think
piping up basically.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of I suppose there's a lot that to be done and conversations to be had across the spectrum. So so now we know kind of how people can engage with it. You know, people can, they can donate. We can go online. We can join in with the conversations. What would you encourage? I suppose, like apart from talking to the men in their lives, is there anything else that you would encourage women to do in their lives that could help kind of spread the word of Me Too? How they can encourage each other, support each other?
I think within the women's movement, there are a lot of issues, as in, my experience as a black woman growing up in London is very different to your experience.
Absolutely.
Or to a Muslim Pakistani woman, or do you know what I mean? It's very different. So being able to say, okay, we have all of these differences, but there is this one pervasive thing that we all experience. Each one of us can probably sit here and talk about one thing that's happened to us. So kind of having solidarity on that and supporting each other with that and saying, this is an issue that we're all going to focus on head on, and we're going to have a united front. In the same way that Time's Up US, initially they started off with Harvey Weinstein, but then they moved on to R. Kelly. But that's a brilliant way of showing solidarity to other women, because gosh, it's been a long time coming. He's been doing this for I don't know how long, but ages. And but for a long time, it's felt like black women were alone in that. And it's only now that it's become a lot more popular, I guess is the word I can talk about, to kind of cancel R. Kelly. Well, sort of. But I think a large portion of that comes from the Time's Up movement, and then because they had the mute R. Kelly thing, and then Spotify then took his music off of their playlists. But then you had other male artists who were saying, well, if his music's not going to be on there, I'm going to take mine off.
It's like, take it off then, mate.
But the thing is that was a perfect opportunity for them to show solidarity. Do you know what I mean? Because now they're showing solidarity to R. Kelly rather than to the women whose lives have been ruined by him.
Which makes you think, what did you do?
Exactly.
And you're removing your music first.
Kind of behaviour. Because exactly that, artist and it's. But there probably needs to be a line. Where you say, actually, this isn't acceptable.
Oh, it's totally nonsensical. For the whole, there's so many celebrities or people in the public eye that have been accused. A lot of them aren't ever proven because it just gets swept under the rug. But we know that they did it. Domestic abuse or just aggressive behaviour to their partner, and these men are still getting very lucrative deals, whether it's ad campaigns, whether it's films. The women very often, after they've spoken out about it, their career goes downhill.
Well, it's interesting that a lot of the time when you hear about the men who have been outed, the first kind of question is, well, what happened to their careers? But no one really seems to care about the careers of the women who have been hurt. A lot of them before they even got started. Because maybe they refused to sit on a bed with someone and things like that. So there are a lot of women whose whole trajectory of their lives has been completely changed because of one man. And then not to speak of the women who are in the industry who have been hurt by that person and have to see them consistently, not even just see them, see them being applauded and rewarded. So it's gross.
Even some of the people that I work with, there is a particular modelling agency, and I know that the person that owns it, he hits on all the models, and then, you know, and they're all, I mean, it's nothing to do with an age gap or anything, but some of them are young, and when I say young, obviously, you know, they're teenagers and stuff, so there are lines of what is and isn't appropriate, and he hits on them regardless if they have partners or anything else. And then if they don't respond well to him, then he kind of blacklists them or treats them a bit badly or makes them feel uncomfortable. And it's not on, but he's kind of, you know, it's been allowed to happen. It's been allowed to flourish. It's been allowed to thrive.
Because he's well established. It's just sort of like, oh, that's just what he does.
Yeah.
But
it's
he's
not
making
okay.
money for someone.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
assuming
That's
he's
the
making
problem.
money for someone.
Yes, and he makes the money.
The case.
Yeah. And the problem is they're kind of almost like beholden to him slightly. So I think that, it's good that we're having these conversations, because I think talking about it publicly will then put the next young woman that's in that situation, she'll realise, actually, no, I saw this online and this was wildly inappropriate.
But she'll also have a space to talk about it.
Exactly. And
whether that's
what might
online or whether that's the Time's Up group that you and I belong to, she'll have a space, and she'll be able to say, what do I do about this, or is this even something I should even be considering? Do you know, she'll be able to ask questions.
Exactly, and I can imagine it starts off a lot of conversations at home as well. Because it's happening all the time, and now I suppose it's opened up conversations in families as well. So then there may be that forum to tell your parent where you may not have told them before. So I suppose it's a powerful movement that goes beyond, like we keep saying, online to real life. Here's the real life application, as it were. So but obviously I should really say virtual to reality, as it were.
Because the virtual world has given a lot of people the courage to be able to do it.
Exactly.
Yes, the power behind it is really impressive.
And so how do we keep these kind of movements in public discussion? Like, what do you want influencers to do? What do you want people to do?
Well, so at the moment we have the Me Too and we have the Time's Up moments, right? So the idea is to turn them and keep them as movements, rather than just this one speck in time where this thing happened and then it blew over and it passed. We want to keep talking about it until we don't have to talk about it anymore. And that goes for gender equality in general, but particularly sexual harassment. And keep supporting your local women's organisations. There are so many of them doing such good grassroots women's work. And it's not just, and a lot of the women's organisations aren't working specifically just for the benefit of women. Because to be honest, when women are equal in society, then everything's better for everyone.
Everybody benefits.
Everyone benefits from that. And so supporting your local women's organisation or Rosa or whatever, or Time's Up or Me Too, doesn't mean that you're anti-men or, all the stuff that people love to say. Really, it is about creating a fairer, more just, more equal world for everyone.
How did you get involved with Rosa?
So I myself, I run an organisation for Black women, and that pairs young Black women with older Black women who are more established, to help them kind of find their way in their careers and their lives in general.
Like a mentorship.
It's a mentor scheme, Cool. And I was looking for funding for it, actually, and I couldn't really find funding for it anywhere. I applied to one place and they said, well, if you opened it up out to all girls, then we'd give you the money. And I was like, well, that's not really what I'm trying to do here. And obviously, women and girls as a whole have a very specific set of issues. So do Black boys and men in general, but so do Black women. They have a very specific set of issues. And Rosa was just something that I came across, and we're the only UK-wide fund for women and girls, meaning that we're the only organisation that exists solely for the benefit of women and girls, to fund those kinds of organisations. And I was just really taken aback by the work that we've done. Funded over 200 organisations, invested over £2 million. We've done a lot of really good work, and so I was just like, well,
it makes
I'm going to get involved.
Count me in.
Exactly. And how long have you been working with them now?
With Rosa, I've been at Rosa for almost 2 years.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so it's good. We're doing such good work and we're not doing it by ourselves. We're pulling as many different people into it as possible. So that's the women's sector, that's the corporate sector. Just doing as much as we can, kind of trying to spread that word.
Yeah. Thanks so much for telling us all about Rosa and what you've been doing with Me Too and Time's Up. So what's next?
So we've just opened up the Justice and Equality Fund to grants. So women's organisations and other organisations will be able to apply for funds to help tackle sexual harassment. We'll also be announcing some other grants programs in the coming months and some really cool partnerships. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, thank you so much. So I suppose really the main takeaway from our chat is that it's about activism and not slacktivism. Campaigns that start online and they get this attraction and engagement, so often they can kind of fall by the wayside and there's no follow-up. But this is really showing where these kind of movements can end up.
Absolutely.
So, you know, if you believe in something, follow through, look at what people are doing, try to find a way to apply it in the non-virtual world. And, you know, make sure that you get involved if you are, you know, if you've been affected by anything within the Me Too movement, if you want to support it, if you want to find out more, you know, look online, find out what you can do. And if you could just tell us, like, where can we find out about Rosa? How can we follow you? Please give us the details.
Sure, you can visit www.rosauk.org. Follow us on Twitter on Rosa for Women and Facebook at Rosa UK. And yes, say hi to me because I'm the one that controls all of it.
Hey. Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us. And thanks, girls, once again. Thank you for joining us as well. We've been Speak On. Bye. Don't forget to like and subscribe.